Right now at 6, a teenager killed in a crash on Sauvie Island.
Ava would have turned 18 yesterday.
Why the young driver's sentence doesn't include jail time.
Then, a federal judge extends the ban on National Guard troops in Portland as we wait for a higher court's decision that could change everything.
Plus, a Portland man who spent 6 weeks on a flotilla headed for Gaza, now back home and talking about how the journey ended.
Thinking, if this is what they're doing to me, what are they doing to Palestinians?
And later, a World Series within reach.
To see the city come alive, that's the essence of October baseball.
We're tracking every moment of the Mariners' chase for the trophy.
Good evening, everyone. We want to get right to breaking news in Southeast Portland, where police say they are in a standoff with an armed suspect.
This is a live look near 72nd Avenue and Sherritt Street, where the suspect is reportedly barricaded inside a garage. Authorities are asking neighbors to stay inside with their doors and windows locked.
I'll show you a map of that area in the Brentwood-Darlington neighborhood. Police have not said what the person is wanted for, but confirmed they are supporting U.S. Marshals. So high stakes here. We'll keep you updated as we learn more.
Now to our top story here at 6. A federal judge today extended her orders temporarily blocking the deployment of the National Guard to Portland.
Those orders were set to expire this weekend, but will instead stay in place for another 2 weeks. Kyle Boshi's been following every twist and turn and joins us with the update. Kyle.
This is an important development, but procedural. Judge Karen Immergut extended her orders, temporarily blocking the Trump administration from deploying the National Guard to Portland for another 2 weeks. Basically, it maintains the status quo as we wait for a ruling from the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals on whether those orders should remain in place. You'll remember last week, the appellate court heard oral arguments in the case. A 3-judge panel will decide whether to overturn Immergut's order, clearing the way for federalized troops to help protect the ICE facility in South Portland.
Okay, so Kyle, any sense of when that ruling from the Ninth Circuit will come down?
Well, that's the big question that we've been asking for several days now. At this point, honestly, it's anybody's guess. I did ask a law professor today. She said, listen, don't worry. They understand the urgency and public interest here. It just takes time, frankly, and they want to get it right.
Just like with trials, the Ninth Circuit, it's not obviously sometimes they have to issue a quick order, but normally it's very stately and everyone sort of thinks about it and takes their time. So there's tremendous pressure on this 3-judge panel to get a decision out, and not just a yes or no, but of course a written decision. And if there is going to be a dissent, in other words, if all 3 judges on that panel do not agree, then there's going to be a majority and a dissent.
Once the judges decide, that written order will appear on the court's website. Then we'll likely see a flurry of legal filings. Now, during today's hearing, Judge Immergut also set the stage for a 3-day trial. Later this month, it's been fast-tracked, set for October 29th. The trial will focus on 2 issues. Does President Trump have the authority to deploy the National Guard? And then secondarily, do his actions infringe on Oregon State's sovereignty? We focused a lot on the restraining orders, which are significant, but the trial is really the big one here, and that's coming up fast.
Okay, yeah, really appreciate you keeping track of all these moving parts. You've been our go-to guy this week, last week, so appreciate you keeping us updated. Thanks, Kyle. We'll stay with KGW for continuing coverage of the latest developments when it comes to the National Guard here in Portland. Look for updates anytime at kgw.com, on our mobile app, and on our free TV app, KGW Plus.
In an update this evening, an 18-year-old will not serve jail time for a deadly crash that killed his 17-year-old passenger.
The crash involving an off-roading vehicle, or a UTV, happened May 18th on Sauvie Island. Jake Holter is live at the Multnomah County Courthouse with the follow-up. Jake.
Christine and David, prosecutors say that Aiden Hurd was driving drunk when the UTV he and Ava Cruz were in flipped. But despite this, the DA's office says that they weighed the facts and a request for leniency from the victim's family and ultimately decided on other penalties.
It was a huge loss to the community of Scappoose.
A sentence passed after tragedy struck the Cruz family in May. Their 17-year-old daughter Ava killed in a UTV accident on Sauvie Island.
Ava would have turned 18 yesterday. She was full of life, committed to becoming an Oregon Duck to study child psychology. She gave back to her community in many ways, and specifically young children she cared for at an after-school program.
Prosecutors say 18-year-old Aiden Hurd was driving the UTV when it overturned with Ava in the passenger seat. He admitted to drinking alcohol before the crash, but the DUI charge was later dropped.
As Ava's mother has stated repeatedly, and I want to encompass her own words, since the moment that this tragedy happened, Aiden Hurd has acted with honesty, accountability, and integrity and remorse and respect to their family.
Instead, Hurd pleaded guilty to criminally negligent homicide. His sentence, 5 years of probation, 400 hours of community service, and a permanent loss of his driver's license. He's also forbidden from drinking alcohol during probation.
He was immediately taking steps to, to engage in things like treatment, and he was certainly working with the victim's family. He has never shied away from accountability in this and his responsibility for what happened.
The district attorney's office says the facts about the crash and the plea from the victim's family supported a charge that prioritized rehabilitation over punishment. And a scholarship fund has been set up in Ava's name for a Scappoose High School student who plans on receiving higher education and has experienced or wants to help people with mental health struggles. David and Christine?
Jake Coulter reporting downtown for us tonight. Thanks, Jake.
In your headlines, Crime Stoppers of Oregon is offering an up to $2,500 reward for any information leading to an arrest in the death of Crystal Pendergraph. Police discovered her body on Northwest Kearney Street between 22nd and 23rd Avenues on Saturday. Her family says a Good Samaritan called 911 when they saw her slumped over in her car. The medical examiner determined Pendergraph was shot to death. Anyone with information can submit tips anonymously to Crime Stoppers or contact Portland Police.
In Washington County, authorities are searching for a 78-year-old man who went missing in Forest Grove. Police say Thomas Whiteman left his family home in the Forest Gale Heights neighborhood around 10 yesterday morning, but never returned. Whiteman is 5'9", 165 pounds, with a gray beard and hair and glasses. Authorities say they talked to him briefly on the phone yesterday. He told them he had fallen and did not know where he was.
They actually were able to make contact with him by cell phone multiple times, but only for very brief periods of time, and then the phone calls got dropped. All that we know from talking to Thomas was that he had told officers that he had fallen and that he was not able to get up from wherever he was at.
Whiteman was last seen wearing black shoes, blue jeans, a red flannel, and a dark-colored baseball hat. Anyone who sees him should immediately call 911.
A Washington County grand jury has indicted a former Beaverton school and sports club leader on theft charges. Police say Carrie Andrews stole more than $12,000 from the Tualatin Hills Dive Club and the base parent-teacher organization. Investigators say she funneled club and PTO money into her own accounts between 2019 and 2023. Andrews was arrested and booked into the Washington County Jail. Detectives believe there could be more victims. Contact Beaverton Police if you have any information.
And some 130 workers with Legacy Health have now voted to authorize a strike. This group includes physician associates, nurse practitioners, and clinical nurse specialists. The union says the workers often perform unpaid tasks that are essential to patient care. Legacy Health telling KGW it will continue to bargain in good faith. This comes, by the way, as roughly 4,000 local workers at Kaiser Permanente continue to strike until Sunday. Workers there are pushing for better pay, staffing, and working conditions. Matt?
All right, David, check out this view from our camera in the Dalles on the Oregon Veterans Home. Really, really beautiful look. Mount Hood, this cloud kind of framing it. The sun just went down over the hills there, and it was a warm day all around the state. Still 64 degrees in the Dalles. Meanwhile, the coast is clear, but there is something we're watching this weekend for the coast on Saturday, an increased threat of sneaker waves. That means waves that will run up farther on the beach than what you would expect. So you want to avoid the jetties, avoid any logs that are on the beach themselves because the water can lift and roll those and be very dangerous. And don't turn your back on the ocean. That sneaker wave threat, courtesy of gathering storms in the North Pacific that sends the big swells out well ahead of the storm itself. Right now, the swells are really quite low, only 4 or 5 feet out along the Oregon and Washington coast. It was a chilly morning, though. We dropped to 35 in Vancouver, 35 in Hillsborough. Portland into the 30s for the first time since early April. Dropped all the way down to 32 at Chehalis, Kelso, and Hood River. Now, Tomorrow morning will be cool again, but not quite as cold as this morning. So I think the frost areas will be more limited, and you really got to get out in the country to get into the frost. Warm and dry through Saturday, and then it all changes on Sunday and into Monday. We'll talk about that in a bit, guys.
Sounds good. We'll see you in a bit. Thanks, Matt.
This is positive change that neighbors, the business community here, everyone was able to get behind, and that's what brought us to today.
Well, that is Lake Oswego Mayor Joe Buck joining city, county, and metro officials as they broke ground on a new affordable housing community.
El Nido, or The Nest, will bring 54 affordable apartments to the Lake Forest neighborhood. That includes 10 supportive homes with rent assistance and on-site services as well. Metro and Clackamas County invested $14.5 million in the project, which was designed with input from neighbors, community leaders, and people who've experienced homelessness. Hacienda CDC, the nonprofit developer, will manage the property and provide on-site services for people living there.
Especially in these moments that we're experiencing so much, I have to say it, so much persecution of minorities in this country. Celebrating moments like this, where we come together, is even more important than ever before.
El Nido will also feature solar panels, electric vehicle parking, a native plant garden, and a nature-based playground.